is also reaching astronomical heights at $427 million drawn Friday. You're listening to the latest on NBC News Radio.
Labor unions built the middle class, and the middle class built America. That's the message from Teamsters Local 1932, a strong and successful labor union based in San Bernardino that represents over 14,000 hardworking people across the Inland Empire. The Teamsters are ready to help you organize for better pay, increased benefits, and improved working conditions. Reach out to Teamsters 1932 at teamsters1932.org/organize to speak with an organizer today.
One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224. Located in the heart of San Bernardino, California, the Teamsters Local 1932 Training Center is designed to train workers for high-demand, good-paying jobs in various industries throughout the Inland Empire. If you want a pathway to a high-paying job and the respect that comes with a union contract, visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org.
Here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about, some interesting numbers popping up. You know how much I love numbers. Some interesting numbers on wealth. And again, not good stuff. Good year for our billionaire class globally. The world's richest 500 people saw their wealth go up by $852 billion in the first half of this year. First half. They still got a whole another half to go. And let's hope the first half, I hope they do better in the second half. Because, hey, why not? Because we don't seem to want to do anything about how bad income inequality in this world and in this country has become. So let's cheer on our billionaires. In fact, I've been saying for years, we should have billionaire trading cards so that we can trade our favorite billionaires, so that we can know how they made their fortune and how we participated in it. For instance, my favorite billionaire for a very long time has been Stephen Schatz Biscotti. Guy who owned a part of the Baltimore Ravens, made his money the old-fashioned way, sending jobs overseas, made his money in outsourcing. So, yeah, I mean, if we're going to lose jobs and families are going to be destroyed, we should at least take some pride in the people who were the winners, no? Isn't that we should have a billionaire hall of fame. The people who screw over the working class the most. There should be a prize. There's part of me goes, there should be a prize. And the pandemic has really did masterfully well for our billionaires. In fact, you may remember, and I've talked about this stuff in the past, Oxfam did a report back in, 2022, that said the 10 richest people on the planet saw their wealth, get this, double. They doubled their fortunes, doubled their money. They had been worth just a meager $700 billion after pandemic. $1.5 trillion are just handful did. The 10 richest. That's them, just the 10. That's a rate of 15 grand a second, or $1.3 billion a day. And hey, that's not a bad gig if you can get it. Not a bad gig. They pointed out that during the first 2 years of the pandemic, they had seen the incomes of the 99% of humanity fall. Yeah. And 160 million more people fell into poverty. So, hey, where are you in that? And this is, if you did fall into poverty, thank you. If your children missed meals, thank you. If you went without health care, if you're homeless, lost your home, thank you. Our billionaires, they really appreciate it. And they want you to keep voting for Republicans who are going to keep cutting their taxes. That's what they really want. And you look here, I remember back in 2021, it was April. It was Forbes magazine that had reported on Biden's speech. Biden did a speech in front of Congress where he said 20 million Americans lost their jobs during the pandemic. 20 million. At the same time, roughly 650 billionaires in America saw their net worth increase by more than $1 trillion, and they're now worth more than $4 trillion. Now, Forbes took exception to this. They fact-checked Joe Biden, and he was wrong. It was 4.6 trillion. Get it right, Joe. And this is, again, this is another moment. $1.2 trillion richer for our billionaire class. And again, if you lost your home during the pandemic, if you went broke, if your kids went without new shoes, whatever your sacrifice was when you were tightening that belt, and you had to cut new loops in to get further and further down the, thank you. Our billionaire class so greatly appreciates it. Now, what's interesting is, again, I'm being facetious. I hope someone understands that. I hope you don't think, what, he believes no. I believe we should be taxing billionaires out of existence. No one should be worth $1 billion. But that's not what Mike Pence thinks. Mike Pence today, evidently, at some little powwow he had, said that he doesn't believe in, the rich paying their fair share. Just doesn't believe it. Doesn't want the rich paying their fair share. Doesn't even know what it means. And this is interesting because, again, you think about the Pence world, this idea that wealth equals your standing in God's eyes. So if you're doing okay, you're a good person. If you're poor, screw you. That's a very Christian way of looking at it, or evangelical Christian way of looking at it. That the more prosperous you are, the more God has shown favor upon you. And those of us who are struggling to make ends meet, keep the lights on, roof over the head, food on the table, we're somehow the unchosen ones. And we deserve what we get. That's their thinking. I'm not making this stuff up. This is what these people think. This is what the Pences of the world think. And I've been saying for a very long time that the wealthy use their influence, the money that we've given them, thank you very much, to make us even more unequal, and to keep pushing this idea of the chosen. The chosen get all of this wealth and all of these wonderful things bestowed upon them, and the rest of us, well, getting the snot kicked out of us. And I was reading this AP story today that said, America is getting even more polarized and all of this stuff, and you go, yeah, we're getting polarized because there's a wealth class who has almost unlimited amounts of money to cause mischief and chaos. They can fund the new Tea Party, these maniac mothers for misery and liberty. They can fund a group like that to go out and say really dumb stuff, knowing that you're going to divide people, not dividing people the way I think we should be, going, hey, look, it's the wealthy against everyone else. It's the 99% against the 1%. In fact, I'd go it's the 99.5% against the 0.5%. But let's not split the 1%. And what's interesting is I had someone send me a video of this guy, a billionaire from South Africa. His name's Johan Rupert. He's the chairman of Cartier. And I talked about this back in 2015. When I saw the article that was sent to me, there was a video attached and said, hey, watch this video. You're going to be blown away. I remember talking about this guy back in 15, saying, AI is coming, robotics is coming, the future of the technology is coming, and it's going to harm the working class. And I remember going through all of this. And you look at this guy's speech that he gave back in 2015, here we are 8 years later. It's the same stuff. It's only worse. And, he made this speech at the Financial Times conference in Monaco. And he said, look, robots are going to put hundreds of millions of people out of work. You're going to see a wider gap between the rich and the poor, and it's going to stoke social unrest. People are going to be angry. They're going to get the pitchforks out. Now, 2015, I would have put money on the pitchforks coming out. Would not have put money on Moms for Liberty going after drag queens. Wouldn't have been on my bingo card. But hey, they have spent a lot of money putting drag queens in front of us. He said, it really keeps me awake at night. How is society going to cope with structural unemployment and the envy, hatred, and social welfare? Because the people with money will not wish to show it, he said. And he pointed out that we can't have a 1% of 1% taking all of the spoils. He said, and folks, those are our clients. It's unfair and it's not sustainable. So I don't know what new social pact we'll have, but we better find one. Now understand, you go, wow, this guy's really getting it. This guy's, good-hearted, and he really cares about working people. I'm going to go a different direction. I hope that's what's in his heart. I hope that's what his goal is. But I got to tell you, I'm jaded, a little jaded here. Heard this kind of stuff before, seen this kind of stuff before. It's not benevolent dictator. It's not benevolence. No. It is self-interest. And I don't care how you get there, benevolency or self-interest. I'm going to go self-interest on this one. He sees that rich people, they're not going to be able to flash their wealth around, which means you're not going to buy the expensive jewelry. You're not going to buy the expensive cars. You're not going to buy you're not going to buy the top line stuff that a company like, say, Cartier puts out in the market. Business is going to go down. Means that his stock prices might go down, which means, being this first or second wealthiest guy in South Africa may not be in his future. That said, don't care how he gets to, hey, we need to maintain jobs for working people. They've got to be jobs that pay a sufficient wage. You've got to have this to have social order. And you can't have this massive gap between the haves and the have-nots. It's what he's saying. We cannot have a 1% of 1% taking all of the spoils. We cannot have the rich getting richer and everyone else getting poorer. He said, we're in for a huge change in society. Get used to it and be prepared. Hopefully we will survive it because we're planning for it. And then I go, we are? Maybe in 2015, but here we are in 2023. What have we done to close the income inequality gap? What have we done? Well, we had the Trump years where they gave that massive tax break to the very wealthy and corporations, actually made it worse, actually made that gap worse. I think Biden has done a very good job. I'd like to see a tax increase. I'd like to see some other things. He's done some stuff on infrastructure, done some stuff reshoring manufacturing. In fact, numbers through the roof on bringing jobs back. Wish he would say it more. Wish Democrats would take this one and go, hey, look, we did this. But when you look at these benevolent billionaires who are saying, hey, and look, we've got benevolent rich people who come on this program, and they will be the first to tell you, radical self-interest. They don't want to have to hire an army of security people to keep them and their grandchildren safe. They don't want to have to live in gated communities where they can't walk freely down the street. They don't want a future of having to hide. They want prosperity across the board. And this comes back to policy. And I look again at my Republican friends who, they don't have a policy. You look at Mike Pence. I don't think the rich people should have to pay their fair share. I think they should be able to grab as much as they can. They got deeper pockets. They can stuff more in there. Again, a guy who claims to be religious talking about gluttony. But again, these are the folks who believe that wealth, this is a positive. in the eyes of God, even though the book that they want everywhere says otherwise. So I'm looking at this moment and going, when do we listen to people like Johann Rupert? When do we listen to the benevolent dictator and say, when he says things are going to get bad, we've got to fix something. We've got to have programs that are going to ensure that people have jobs. Again, 2015 is the year they came out with that study, said in 20 years, half of all the jobs that people are doing today, gone. What are you going to do with half of the population? What are you going to do with all of these people who are now going to be unable to put food on the table, unable to keep a roof over their head, and an economy looking towards collapse? What are you going to do in a country that is heavily well armed, probably in some places much better armed than police departments? What are you going to do? And that's my question for elected leaders. What are we going to do? Are we just going to let the reality of where we are just go right on by? No, I'm still stuck on hating those alphabet people, the ones with the rainbow. Radical self-interest. Something I think we need to be talking about. Want to hear your thoughts? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Gonna take a quick break. Right back. Stick around.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
The phone lines are open. Give Rick a call at 1-866-416-RICK. That's 1-866-416-7425.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So as I've said a number of times, we're in a moment, and it's going to get worse. Understand, it's going to get a lot worse. We're in a moment where three incomes, that's what's going to have to happen. Going to have 3 incomes to make ends meet. There's just no way around this. And what's frustrating is you have all of these tax cuts for the very wealthy, and you have all of these programs to help corporate America, but working people, it's screw you. Let's go to the phones. Let's see who we got. What's your name? What's on your mind?
Hello, Rick. Guess who?
Hey, Alice. What's up?
Well, what I wanted to say was you was talking about the prosperity gospel there a little while ago, and what I wanted to say was, it's obvious to me that these evangelicals that are into this prosperity gospel have obviously never read the Bible, that thing that they're always screaming about. Because specifically in the New Testament, Jesus is quoted, and I'm going to paraphrase, the rich young guy says to him, "What can I do, Master, to go to heaven?" And he says, "Give away all of your money to everyone and store up your riches in heaven, and then you'll be able to go to heaven." And then the young guy is upset because Jesus told him to give away his money, and he turns away. So obviously that's one thing that he did specifically talk about, that once again, they don't read it.
Well, there's another quote, what's it's easier to get a camel through the eye of a needle than a rich person into heaven. never mind that
Yeah,
either.
that's in a couple of the New Testament Gospels.
Yeah, no, again, but if you talk to them, people who are struggling, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with their character. There's, they're unchosen. Whatever. I mean, I'm sure you've heard this before.
Oh yeah, that actually goes back to the Puritans. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
That is actually a Puritan concept from the the Puritans were Calvinists.
Right. The more things change.
So yeah, that goes back to the Calvinists, and they were all whack job lunatics anyways. So I mean, and that's no joke. So I'm going to say it loud and clear. Dear evangelicals, read the Bible yourself. Get that King James Version, the one that you're trying to push down everybody's throat. Read it yourself. And then come back and talk to me. But you have a good evening.
There you go. Thanks, Alice. Appreciate it. But, here's the thing, and this is what gets me. And this is one of the things I've been talking about for a while. The fact that in this country right now, it is almost impossible to get by on one income. There are very few families that I know that have just one income. Most have two, and now we're seeing three. And I've been saying this for a while. How you're going to get to that third income, people are going to either work second jobs, third jobs, whatever, or you got to put the kids in the workforce. We're going to make having children profitable again. In the old days, you needed to have 20 kids because you needed to work the farm. You needed cheap labor. It's the reason they kept pumping out units. Now, we're just going to put them into factories. And I look at this story that just came out of Michigan. I guess over the weekend, a 16-year-old boy was killed working in a logging operation. It doesn't say how he was killed, but I'm going, logging is one of the most dangerous jobs in this country. Death rates even today, still way up there. What's a 16-year? He's learning his way. He's getting in there, getting his hands dirty young. I know the rhetoric, but we're in a moment where, just recently Iowa, gutted their child labor laws. So now we can have 14, 15, 16-year-old kids working on the kill floor, cleaning those bloody machines. And hey, because we need it. We need the cheap labor. And what's frustrating to me is I haven't seen the outrage yet. I haven't seen the anger yet. Now, my question, and they haven't identified who this kid is. There's part of me goes, are we looking at another Hispanic kid that, who knows? Because we need that cheap labor, and those families need additional income. As long as we keep them in the shadows, maybe we can exploit them a little bit more. But as I've said, the sad reality is the Republican Party right now, they're hell-bent on making the rich richer and the poor poorer. And by making the poor poorer, it means you're going to take kids out of school to make them work. And I've had people say, well, Rick, parents, they're going to do what's in the best interest of their kids. They're going to be there to support them. No, nonsense. Maybe in your middle class world, maybe in your world of privilege, maybe in your world where, you can still get by on one or two incomes. But when you're a check away from being kicked out into the curb, you're a check away from, the kids going hungry. The cupboards have been bare and the paycheck's not reaching enough into there. You're going to do desperate things in desperate times because that's what desperation gets you. So if, hey, I got to send the kid into the workforce for a couple of weeks, just going to be for a couple of weeks, help us catch up, and then those couple of weeks turn into a couple of months, turns into a couple of years. That kid loses its chance at an education. As a society, we cannot allow that to happen. Now, am I against kids working? No, of course not. But unfortunately, what we've done is we've taken all those jobs that in my years as a child were there for kids to learn. We're there for kids to be entrepreneurial and learn an honest day's work, earn the value of $1, like shoveling snow or cutting grass. You've got corporations doing this now, and big ones. It's no longer just a guy, his pickup truck and a lawnmower. You've got, a guy in 30 trucks and 30 lawnmowers now. Kid ain't in this anymore. Paper routes. The person who delivers the newspaper in our area, 40-year-old person, driving a car. No longer that kid on his bike, getting up in the morning, throwing your newspaper in the bushes, and then having to go back and collect and get yelled at for it. We've completely screwed up our economy to where the work that we do doesn't cover enough of what we need, and now we've taken whatever else is out there to make ends meet. And now we're taking the children. And if it means a couple of them don't make it, well, that's the cost of progress, I guess, right? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with sending kids into logging camps? You okay with putting kids on the kill floor to clean the death blades? Are you okay with that? Are we okay with them dealing with hazardous chemicals? Our Republican friends are. Want to hear your thoughts? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Gonna take a quick break. Right back. I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1934. That was the day known as Bloody Thursday. The historic West Coast maritime strike had been raging since May 9th. Longshoremen refused to cede to the Industrial Association, determined to open the ports by force. The shipping bosses had rejected strikers' demands, including a union hiring hall and recognition of offshore unions. By July 3rd, picketers had been fighting for hours to stop trucks sent to move cargo under police protection as bosses attempted to open the ports. At 8 a.m. on this day, a line of strike-breaking trucks emerged. Thousands of strikers amassed in the warehouse district. The Battle of Rincon Hill had begun. The fighting continued throughout the afternoon in the center of the Embarcadero as strikers attempted to stop the scab freight cars. By the time it was over, longshoreman Howard Speary and strike supporter Nick Bordeaux lay dead from police bullets. 30 strikers had been shot and dozens more lay in the hospital, some critically wounded. The San Francisco Chronicle reported, blood ran red in the streets of San Francisco. In Workers on the Waterfront, Bruce Nelson notes, quote, Bloody Thursday was an epic moment. Strikers conducted themselves with remarkable precision and imagination in the face of 3 successive assaults by police who were using their firearms freely and laying down a barrage of tear gas bombs. Donald Mackenzie Brown, the businessman eyewitness, was overawed by the workers' insane courage in the face of bullets, gas, clubs, horse hooves, death against fast patrol cars and the radio. They fought back with rocks and bolts till the street was a mass of debris. They were fighting desperately for something that seemed to be life for them. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show.
The political extremists demanding that government control every woman's personal reproductive decisions claim that they are pro-life. But that's a rhetorical fraud. Look at their overall policy agenda, and you will see that they are merely pro-birth. After that, adios, baby, good luck. They consistently join Republican lawmakers to kill public programs that deliver essential real-life needs to babies after they're born. Consider child care, a fundamental need in any society, yet the leaders of our rich, sophisticated nation that supposedly treasures family, work, and children have created a Menji system that literally is a crying shame, revealing that our society deliberately does not care for children. Here's reality for you. 98% of American workers are better paid than those we entrust to care for our children. Working at a nail salon, loading boxes at an Amazon warehouse, flipping burgers at McDonald's are jobs given more pay and respect than most child care jobs. This is not just a poor people's problem, for the lack of child care availability, affordability, and quality is a looming crisis for a majority of American families. Nonetheless, Republicans, enabled by corporate Democrat Joe Manchin, recently killed funding for a program to both raise worker pay and lower the prices families are charged. Such care is too expensive, squawk the same lawmakers who routinely dole out billions in welfare to corporate profiteers. But wait, the GOP has come up with a genius, low-cost solution. Relax safety and educational requirements for child care centers, as Iowa and Montana have already done, allowing 16-year-olds to provide care for up to 15 children each. This is Jim Hightower saying, to support life, not just birth, join up with the First 5 Years Fund, ffyf.org.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So I think it was about 4 o'clock this morning, I saw the tweet come out from the Teamsters that they're saying UPS walked away from the table. UPS is saying the Teamsters walked away from the table. I don't care who walked away, who did what, no agreement. It looks like a strike is probable. I'm not going to say imminent, probable. What I'd like to say, though, is the table that they walked away from, maybe they can use it on the picket line. Maybe they can burn it in the barrels. I don't know, a little too warm for that. But, hey, if it happens on August 1st, my call is to adopt a striker. Every person in the country, every politician should adopt a striker, help them, walk the picket line with them, listen to them. I think that's the way forward. Anyway, here to share some thoughts on this very important day, the anniversary of the signing of the National Labor Relations Act. I've asked my good friend Eric Loomis to come talk with us. Eric is a professor historian and blogger over at Lawyers, Guns, and Money blog. Also, the author of the most important book on labor, A History of America in 10 Strikes. We'll get links out on social media. You can take a look at that. Eric, thanks for taking time for us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So let's start with the Teamsters thing real quick. Any thoughts? They said the 5th. O'Brien said the 5th. There's got to be something so we can vote on it by the end of the month. What are you looking at?
Well, I mean, there may be some last-minute negotiations, some attempts to patch these things together, but, the cards have been on the table for a strike for a while, and I think that no one's really surprised that this is happening. UPS is, not giving the Teamsters what they need, and the Teamsters are not going to take anything less. And so I think that, we're already seeing right now the largest hotel strike in American history taking place right now, and we're about to see another enormous strike, and so it's not surprising. It's encouraging, and I'm glad to see the Teamsters not taking a bad deal.
No, and that's the important part here, because you look back to the history of our country. It's been a couple of these moments that have really catapulted us in a good direction. In fact, the 1934 Teamsters strike is one of those moments. So could we be looking at another one of those historical moments, do you think?
Well, it's impossible to say because you just never know. But I mean, I think that the one thing I think that we definitely can say is that the Democratic Party right now is probably more pro-labor than it's been in a very, very long time. That the era of Democrats basically supporting neoliberalism and being soft union busters seems to have passed. The Republican Party, however, which controls the House of Representatives, and obviously the Supreme Court, as we know, is still an enormous barrier. So it's hard to say, but I think that the signs are encouraging, and the rise in worker militancy that we're seeing throughout the nation is nothing but positive in building a movement that makes that kind of gigantic change, whether it's next year, 5 years, 10 years, but gaining momentum, which is the first time I think in a long time we've been able to say that, with absolute certainty.
Yeah, I look at over the weekend here in Philadelphia, you had these maniac mothers for misery had their convention, and all of the money and the effort that went into that. And there's a part of me goes, I wish you guys had that kind of militancy for income equality and making people's lives better. It's mind-blowing that we're in this moment. But truth of the matter is, as I started off the program with, there are a number of people saying the country hasn't been this divided in over 100 years. We're packing into camps, and it really is about keeping us divided so we can be conquered.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of division in American life right now, no question about that. But I think that one of the things that is happening is that if we are going to be divided in American life, being divided along class lines has a lot of value. To understand where we stand as people of a given class and who supports our interests and who doesn't. I don't know if you saw this today, but Mike Pence gave a speech where he said, I don't think the rich should be paying their fair share.
Yeah.
Which, A, he's a tremendously stupid person for saying that. B, he's just saying what Republicans believe. And, the more that he's willing to tell that truth, I think the more that other Americans are going to be like, maybe we need to realize the truth of our class.
No, and that's I actually led with that, so thanks for highlighting it again, because it's one of those moments of honesty. I don't know if he meant to be honest. He did stumble and stammer and fall through it, but it's what they've always wanted to say. They've always wanted to say, especially the religious community, that wealth is a sign of favor of God, and if you're poor, well, that's your fault, and that there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's that sick, twisted version of Christianity in America. I mean, by no means are all Christians believe this, but the idea that God rewards you if you're wealthy. I don't know. I mean, in my version of the Bible, there's the whole the eye of a needle or whatever.
Harder to get a camel through the eye of a needle than a rich person.
Exactly. Thank you. That seems like and Jesus throwing the money changers out of the temple. I don't know what version of the Bible they're reading, but it is a pretty twisted one. And so, yeah, I mean, but that has been powerful in American life, and this is not the first time that's been powerful in American life. But one of the things that thinking around class does is it cuts against those kinds of tendencies, and it gives some people, when they hear that, perhaps the ability to say, well, I don't think that's what the Bible says.
No, that's not at all what it says. But the reason I asked you to come on today was to talk about the anniversary. Today, 1935, Franklin Roosevelt signs the National Labor Relations Act. A lot of people think that, we could have gotten better, could have done better. I've had a lot of people tell me it wasn't great. I go, no, it was a peace treaty. Workers were literally tearing the country apart. Maybe we need to have another one of those moments, and this summer looks kind of interesting. But what did the NLRA do, and how important was it, do you think?
Well, it's hugely important. I mean, I think it's worth addressing those criticisms about it. But what the National Labor Relations Act does is basically sets up a legal framework by which companies have to legally negotiate with their unions. That if workers choose to have a union in their workplace, then companies are legally required to sit down across the table from them, and you have the creation of arbitration boards, particularly the National Labor Relations Board, that is a decision maker when companies commit these labor violations, or when there is adjudication that is necessary. And what this does is, it, for the first time in American history, it gives a legal standing to unions. Right? That unions were never technically illegal in America. It's just that everything unions did that worked was declared illegal. Right? And the courts were very active in doing that. And so, having that on the books for all of its compromises and limitations, first of all, was the best you were going to get in 1935. And second, for all of its flaws today, and it is, we'll talk about this, an antiquated piece of legislation that has been pretty controlled now by corporations, it still remains a principle that you can have a union in this country. And that still outrages a whole lot of conservatives. And they still hate that law. And that no doubt includes 6 members of the Supreme Court. So I think that the fact that the law still exists, as problematic as it is, it's still an important piece of our history, and it's still actually something to celebrate, even if we desperately need a new law to either expand upon it or replace it.
No, and or just to go back to the original intent of it and take away all of the death of 1,000 paper cuts that have come over the years since. But I go back to this, and I actually had someone tell me that there were Republicans who supported this, and I'm going, not as many as you think.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the actual votes, but not very many. I mean, there were a few, there were a few old school kind of liberal Republicans who may have voted for it, but certainly by no means any kind of significant number.
And it would be none of today's Republicans.
Oh, yeah, today, none. I mean, absolutely not. I mean, the one thing that people may talk about, let's think about, if we go back to the last 25 years ago, when people claim they were still moderate Republicans, right? Nobody really claims this today who's serious, even if the Beltway media tries. But if you go back 25 years, what unites the moderate, so-called moderate Republican with the right-wing Republican? They all hate unions. They're all pro-employer, right? The differences we're on social issues, but on economic issues, on taxing the rich, on unionization, forget about it, right? All Republicans have united over that issue. And I don't see any evidence that's changing anytime soon.
No, and this is why I keep talking to my working class friends who vote for Republicans, and they go, look, the reality is Republicans hate working people. Look at what they do. You are a working person. Therefore, they hate you in the policies that they are moving forth. They are trying to destroy your ability to put food on your table and keep a roof over your head. But somehow that disconnect has been allowed to be forgotten.
Yeah, I mean, I think that part of the problem is that there's a lot of countercurrents and cross currents in American life around race, around gender. There's also, the issues of the kind of, right-wing propaganda that Fox News has developed and now is in all these other forms as well, that feed workers a line of baloney. And I think that it's very sophisticated propaganda. And people don't see it. When you get in that Fox News world, you don't see it as such. You see it as the, quote, truth, but you're being fed a bunch of lies to support corporate America. And so, it's frustrating, I think, for all of us. But I mean, I think that part of what your show does is provide, with whatever power you have, the ability to counter those narratives and remind people of the actual truth about the relationship between employer and employee that has been kind of, whether it's through Fox News or through religion or all of these other things, has been, forgotten in American life.
Well, the reality is, and I love bringing this up, the fact Pennsylvania's workers' compensation law still looks at the employer-employee relationship as master and servant. It is still there. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're here with Eric Loomis. Eric's a professor, historian, blogger over at Lawyers, Guns, and Money blog, also the author of A History of America in 10 Strikes, one of the must-read books that we have. Now, a moment ago, Eric, you brought up the courts, and our six little dictators in robes. It looks like the rulings we see coming out could have been 100 years ago. It's the good old Lochner court, but I would argue probably even worse. Do you see anything positive coming out of this court?
The only positive thing coming, well, there's a couple of on the margins, a couple of maybe little things, but there are certain areas in which one or two of the conservatives are not horrible, that sometimes can lead to a ruling that's not abjectly awful. But on the major issues, we saw an affirmative action, decimating the Environmental Protection Act, all sorts of other things in this in this session, and the annual union law that hurts union, or case that hurts unions. The only positive thing we see coming out of this is, I think, more and more people losing respect for the court, right? Realizing that what the court is 9 hacks, right? They're not up there because they're brilliant. They're not up there because they understand the law better than we do. They're up there as political appointees, and they do not deserve the respect that they demand, right? To hear John Roberts or Alito whining about people not respecting the court anymore, well, that's your fault, right? And, don't be a political hack that just votes with a Republican position on every single case. That's one way to gain respect, is to actually uphold the laws as they were written. And as Congress intended, but they have no interest in doing that. And so, in the long run, I think undermining the legitimacy of the court is actually very positive, because the court has been horrible for workers almost all the time in American history. And in fact, in some ways, it was a miracle and quite surprising that the court upheld the National Labor Relations Act, which happened 2 years after its initial passage in 1937.
Well, you did have that attempted court packing thing. So where I was going to lead to next and kind of finish up at, are we at that moment again? I know there's a movement to get to 13. There's a movement to grow the court. Any thoughts?
Well, I think it's a positive thing. I mean, I think not obviously every Republican would oppose this. I think that there's a lot of very old, especially older Democrats, institutional Democrats that are in the House and Senate that would also oppose it because they just are that older generation, the generation that came up in the Clinton years, really struggled to recognize the reality, I think, of modern America. But, even Biden who's the ultimate institutionalist, is openly criticizing the court in a way that really would have been unthinkable 10 years ago. So, I think that we're moving, again, kind of like the larger labor movement generally, we are moving in positive directions, but these things do take time. And they don't happen overnight, and we have to build and work for it. And so I think these things sort of all taken together are the most positive takes that we can bring, or we can get out of what's going on with the court. But it's rough out there.
It most certainly is. But Eric, I appreciate you sharing some expertise, taking some time for us. Thanks so much.
You bet. Have a great night.
As always, our good friend Eric Loomis. Make sure you check out his book, America in 10 Strikes, A History of America in 10 Strikes. We'll get links out on social media. I can take a look at that. Gonna take a quick break. Right back. Stick around. You listen to The Rick Smith Show. We're working people. Come to talk.
Phone lines are open. Give Rick a call at 1-866-416-RICK. That's 1-866-416-7425.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1888. That was the day that the spark was lit that touched off what came to be known as the Match Girl strike in East London. The Match Girls were workers at the Bryant and May Match Factory. Matches were in high demand. The workers struggled under horrible conditions. If the workers were late, they were fined a half-day's pay. For 14 hours a day, they toiled. The factory used white phosphorus that contributed to a bone cancer known as phossy jaw. Both Sweden and the United States had banned the dangerous phosphorus, but it was still legal in England. The plight of these workers caught the attention of Annie Besant. Annie was a socialist and women's rights activist who wrote for a weekly newspaper called The Link. She published an article about the deplorable conditions in the match factory. Outraged, the managers demanded their workers to sign a statement saying that Annie Besant's story was false. When one worker refused, she was fired. In response, 1,400 match girls walked off the job. Progressive newspapers across England called for a boycott of Bryant and May matches. From there, the women formed a union and asked Besant to serve as their leader. For 3 weeks, she helped the strikers with their work action and to negotiate with management for safer working conditions. The company agreed to hire back the workers who had been fired. They also agreed to drop the harsh fining system, but they would not stop using the dangerous white phosphorus. In 1891, the Salvation Army opened up its own factory using a less dangerous type of red phosphorus. Finally, in 1901, Bryant and May, under public pressure, stopped using the white phosphorus. Like what you hear? Check out more at laborhistoryin2.com.
You're listening to The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
So, Josh Hawley, the senator from Missouri, the Show Me State, decided he was going to take to the Twitters and celebrate that great American patriot, Patrick Henry. So he tweeted out, Patrick Henry, quote, "It cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was founded not by religionists, but by Christians, not by religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. For this very reason, peoples of other faiths have been afforded asylum, prosperity, and freedom of worship here." That's such a great quote, isn't it? It really is. It's a good quote. It gets to the heart of we're a Christian nation. We're wonderful. Patrick Henry, wow. What foresight, what vision. Holly made this up. Patrick Henry never said it. And this is what I love about some of my rightward leaning friends and I guess there's a lot of people, who take quotes that they find somewhere floating around on the inner tubes and throw them out as, see, the founder agrees with me. So when I saw this video of North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson at the Moms for Liberty, the new Tea Party group, the Moms for Liberty, I was like, I gotta play the Lieutenant Governor talking about quotes, because this really is who they are. So yeah, get a good listen to our North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson.
Here's the thing, whether you're talking about Adolf Hitler, whether you're talking about Chairman Mao, whether you're talking about Stalin, whether you're talking about Pol Pot, whether you're talking about Castro in Cuba, or whether you're talking about a dozen other despots all around the globe, it is time for us to get back and start reading some of those quotes.
What? What? Now, understand, Moms for Liberty got into trouble for quoting Hitler and putting it on their paperwork, on their propaganda. It is time for us to get back and start reading some of those quotes. This is scary to me. This is something that I got to tell you is angering who Patrick Henry was, all of that stuff. Not just made up quotes attributed to people, but actual history. This is my frustration with these folks. You know, we need to learn what quotes we can steal from Hitler and Mao and Pol Pot and Castro. This guy's a Republican. We got to go back and get those quotes. Why? Why do we need to get those quotes? So we can misuse them? Yeah. So we can put them in our memes and misuse them? So we can be like Josh Hawley and tweet out something that doesn't happen? Or, look, I have some gun nut maniac acquaintances that I know. And they always walk around with the George Washington quote on the back of their shirt. And it doesn't mean what they think it means. But they wear it proudly because, see, quote. Out of context, misused. But we got the quote. And sadly, the people who, now he's at a conference of maniac mothers who just want their babies to get the best education. And here he is saying, no, you don't need that stinking history. We'll just grab a couple of quotes. Quote them and tote them. It's like the very people who misquote the Bible. And we heard a lot of that. This is one of those moments where there's a lot of garbage on the internet. There are a lot of memes out there to go, oh, wow, that quote, I can't believe that our founders had such vision to say exactly what I'm thinking right now. If you read a quote like that, honestly, truthfully, if you read a quote like that, it probably wasn't said. And what we're seeing is, the people who are so concerned about, those teachers are indoctrinating our children with thinking. What the Mark Robinsons of the world and the Hollies of the world are, they don't want education. They want indoctrination into their narrow-minded beliefs. And that's not new. That's on all sides of the political spectrum. People want to win you over and dazzle you with their understanding of the past. But when you've got a guy who's in a position of power like Robinson saying, no, we need to bring back Pol Pot quotes. Boy, there was nothing more popular in the 60s than those Pol Pot quotes. Nothing more uplifting and going to get you moving like those Hitler quotes. But I guess we're in that moment where actual education doesn't matter. Division does. And where I put this and where I finish on this is, the sad reality is until we take off the red hats and the blue hats and we we find that common ground, we're going to continue to separate. We're going to continue to be pulled apart and pitted against one another. And why? So our billionaire class can have more. Because that's what all this is about. You don't think that Moms for Liberty group just, made all that money up making cookies for bake sales. They didn't go to the swankiest hotels and have, rent out a hotel for a conference, by selling knitting on the weekends. No, there was a billionaire behind it. A billionaire with deep, deep pockets, because he understands what that division is worth. He understands that these maniacs they're the new Tea Party, only crazier, if you can imagine that. And it's not going away anytime soon. It's going to get worse. Want to hear your thoughts? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Miss any portion of the program? Make sure you grab the podcast. Quick break, right back.
Canada's wildfire season is now officially the worst ever recorded.
Canada's fires shatter records, sending smoky air back to the U.S. and to Europe. Intensifying rainstorms pose hidden flood risk across U.S. Plus,
to remove PFAS from public water systems across the country is an enormously expensive endeavor.
3M settles another lawsuit over forever chemicals in municipal drinking water systems.
All of those toxic stories and more straight ahead from BradBlog.com. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
They want to take away your washing machines and your dryers.
Nope, they don't.
They don't want to give you any water for the washing machine.
Also a lie. This is your Green News Report. Hey, sorry that we got to fire up the Donald Trump fact-checking again, but so be it. What do you have for us today, Desi Doyen?
Well, smoky summers may be our new normal in the U.S. Air quality is again plummeting for millions of Americans, this time in the upper Midwest and Northeast, due to smoke from Canadian wildfires. This week, Chicago, Milwaukee, and Detroit vied for the city with the worst air quality in the world. The Canadian smoke has even crossed the Atlantic Ocean to hit the UK and Spain. Officials in Canada say 2023 is officially Canada's biggest fire season in modern history, with fires coast to coast, driven by unusually hot and dry weather. And it's not even peak fire season yet. Canada's wildfire emissions are also breaking records. Europe's climate service Copernicus reports that over the last 20 years, Canada's carbon emissions from wildfires have increased along with the land area burned. This year, Canada's fires have released 85% of its annual average greenhouse emissions. That's roughly equivalent to Indonesia's annual carbon emissions from burning fossil fuels. Abundant scientific evidence shows human-caused climate change is intensifying as the fires send more climate-warming emissions into the atmosphere, in turn worsening global warming and wildfire conditions.
Yeah, but think about all the money that Canada's made from all that dirty tar sands oil.
Good point. In Texas, the relentless, record-shattering heat wave has sent hundreds of people to emergency rooms. And
KCAA Loma Linda. The Legacy KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Taylor. The White House is trying to improve its frosty relationship with China. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is in Beijing today on a mission to find common ground for the U.S. Her visit comes amid simmering tensions that have prompted both sides to reconsider the deep commercial and investment ties that have defined their relationship for decades. The White House says one of the most powerful endorsements of President Biden's economic agenda is coming from some congressional Republicans.
Congressional Republicans who voted no and attacked it on Fox News then went home to their district and hailed its benefits.
Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates noted there are several Republicans who voted against Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, but later welcomed the jobs and investments the program's brought to their home states. He specifically named members of the South Carolina delegation. Biden is visiting West Columbia, South Carolina today to announce a new manufacturing partnership between solar and battery company Enphase Energy and manufacturing firm Flex. Former President Trump is taking aim at the Bidens after cocaine was found at the White House. In a post, he accused Hunter Biden and President Biden of using the drug. He then claimed the fake news media would defend the president. He also attacked the special counsel who indicted him on charges related to his handling of classified documents. Former Vice President Mike Pence is defending his decision to certify the 2020 presidential election results following the Capitol riot. While on the campaign trail in Sioux City, Iowa this week, a woman questioned Pence, claiming he had the constitutional power to block the certification of Electoral College results and prevent Joe Biden from becoming president. Pence disputed her claim, saying the Constitution is clear that he did not have the power to do so. The Powerball jackpot is nearing $600 million. No one won Wednesday's grand prize of $546 million, so the jackpot rolls over to Saturday night's drawing and will be worth an estimated $590 million. The Mega Millions jackpot is also reaching astronomical heights at $427 million drawn Friday. You're listening to the latest on NBC News Radio.
You're listening to the Tahibo Tea Club radio show, hosted by Milan Vukovic, founder of the Tahibo Tea Club.
Welcome to the Tahibo Tea Club radio hour. My name is Milan Vukovic. I'm the founder of the Tahibo Tea Club.
Since our tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus doesn't grow on, as a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. In every order, we automatically include literature about the tea because folks primarily buy the tea for one primary reason. Oftentimes they call back and say, this is truly unbelievable. This has helped me with my arthritis or something of that nature. One time I got a phone call from a man in Florida who says, there's something you didn't tell me about the tea. And I says, well, what's that? He says, I'm an older man. I have toenail fungus, and my toenail fungus is completely gone. My toes are now the only beautiful thing on my body. Well, of course, the tea naturally has antifungal properties because it comes from the only tree in the world that fungus doesn't grow on. The only thing we talked about in his case when he called was with regards to his lung cancer. As it happened, the man had had lung cancer for 18 years and was receiving radiofrequency ablation for his lung cancer. After 18 years, he says the radiation works, but you can smell your own flesh burning. There's nothing left in my lungs to burn out anymore now after 18 years. He says, I don't really believe in things like your tea, but it doesn't cost very much, so go ahead and send it to me. He calls back about 3 weeks later and says, if someone would have told me that a bag of tea would have gotten rid of my pain in 5 days, I would have said you're crazy because I was taking 10 narcotic pills daily to mitigate the pain from my cancer, and it never really did. My friend said it had to be in my head. I said, so that's why I waited 3 weeks to call you back. It's not in my head. The pain is actually gone. Now, I'd like to switch gears and talk about prostate cancer right now. Our tea is effective against all types of cancers because it works through the bloodstream. And of course, cancer cells need blood to get to them just as healthy cells do. The big difference being is that cancer cells work and live in an anaerobic environment, which means they live in the absence of oxygen, and they get their energy from sugar instead of from oxygen like healthy cells do. But now, I'd like to devote our attention to prostate cancer because 80% of men are going to contract prostate cancer by the time they turn 80 years old. From the cases that we have, we get more prostate cancer cases than any other cases simply because they're more prevalent. I'd like to tell you a little about a couple of these cases. I got a phone call from a man in Phoenix who says, I don't know if you remember speaking to me 4 months ago, but I had prostate cancer that was aggressively metastasizing through my whole body, my bones, everywhere, and you told me to drink at least 8 glasses a day or more, as much as I could humanly stand, because it was a race. I had to beat the cancer before it beat me. So I literally took that to heart, and I was drinking a gallon a day, which is 16 cups or more. I was drinking so much of your tea that sometimes I was drinking the tea and having to go pee at the same time. But I'll tell you what, in 4 months, I don't have prostate cancer anymore. In the informational literature that we automatically include with every order, it says, please call us and tell us about your case so that we can help more people. One day, I got a call from a man in Beaumont, Texas, and he says, I've been a customer of yours for 5 years, and in your booklets, it says to give you a call about your case, so I'm calling to give you an update. I says, please tell me. He says, 5 years ago, I had prostate cancer, and my PSA level was 1,200. So I'm thinking, I don't understand this guy's Southern Texas drawl. So I says, you mean 120? Because previously, we'd never had anybody that had more than a 550 PSA. He says, no, 1,200. My PSA level was so high, they didn't even want to give me chemo. And you know they're going to give you chemo, whether it works or not, if for no other reason, just to collect on the money. So I had no other choices, and I started drinking your tea. And not only am I alive 5 years later, my PSA level is now 1.25. A couple of months after that, a man from Saskatchewan, Canada calls and says to me that he's got prostate cancer and he's heard good things about our tea and he'd like to order some. So just to let him know that there's certainly hope for success, I start telling him the case of the man from Beaumont, Texas with the 1200 PSA. And he says, that's nothing. My prostate level is 2100. I says, oh, you got to be kidding. Is that even possible? He says, well, it must be because that's what mine is. I says, well, you have to promise to call me back. As a matter of fact, I'm going to write down your name and number on a yellow sticky and stick it on my computer. And if I don't hear back from you, I'm going to call you myself. 6 months later, I got an email from him, and he says, I started drinking your tea, and I'm getting my PSA checked every 2 months. At the 2-month mark, my PSA level dropped from 2100 to 100. At the 4-month mark, it dropped from 100 to 10. And now, at the 6-month mark, my PSA level is 1.75.
Tehibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea helps build red corpuscles in the blood which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TehiboTeaClub.com. Tehibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TehiboTeaClub.com, or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TehiboTeaClub.com. Tehibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TehiboTeaClub.com. Tehibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TehiboTeaClub.com, or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TehiboTeaClub.com.
Welcome back to the Tehibo Tea Club radio show. Now, this next segment is a segment with live listener call-ins from previous shows. And you'll be hearing their questions, their successes, and their experiences with Tehibo tea. So please do give us a call and let us know how the tea works for you. Thank you.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hi. Just wanted to let you know that we love the flavor of the tea. We think it tastes a lot like Emperor's Pu Air. I've had an issue with I drink a lot of it. I drink way more than 8 cups a day.
Fantastic.
But I've had some problems with I really am interested in all the wonderful health benefits. But I've had a little bit of problem with acid reflux in the middle of the night from it, and I know the tea can kind of taste. Is there something I'm doing wrong? Is there any way I can mitigate that reflux issue?
The tea doesn't cause acid reflux, so there's something else going on that's causing that issue that you're going to want to address, by being vigilant about what you're consuming and what time you're consuming it and that sort of thing. One of my employees, and she's only like 22, 23 years old, she and at work we all drink the tea all day long. Obviously, we work at the Tehibo Tea Club, right? And but when she goes out to lunch, and she eats something that has vinegar or something like that, like a salad or something like that, she'll end up with acid reflux when she comes back from lunch. So it could be something, as simple as, something that you're consuming that, is good. Like, there's nothing wrong with vinegar. Vinegar is great, but, it'll be something like that that'll be causing that acid reflux.
Okay. Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe that in combination with something else that I'm eating. I don't know. I know it's a wonderful product and have nothing but praise for it, but I'm wondering if I should try diluting it, or is that going to create more of a problem with not getting all the health benefits from it?
The strength that we recommend to make it is really about as diluted as you want to make it. You can dilute it a little bit more, but it should have a mild, pleasant flavor, just the way it is. And once you finish making it, if you pour it into a clear glass, it should have the color of golden apple juice. So if it's darker than that, you're making it stronger than you need to make it. There's also nothing wrong with making it stronger, but you don't get any additional benefits from making it stronger.
Okay, I'll just keep trying to work with it. And,
now, if I'm
vigilant about what else I'm eating.
Yeah, and if I may ask you, what is the primary concern that you're looking to address by drinking the tea?
I have a few different health issues, but I also, one of the things that really bothers me is the toenail fungus.
Uh-huh.
And really looking forward to seeing the effect of that. But I have some other health issues too. I'd probably rather not bring up, but
no worries. I don't mean to pry. With regards to toenail fungus, the average elimination period for toenail fungus is about 3 months. And what happens is that typically when one has toenail fungus, they've had it for a long time. They've had it for years, 3, 5, 10, sometimes 15 years. And so now the tea basically helps the body to heal itself to get rid of the toenail fungus. And so when you start drinking the tea, after a day or after a week, you're not going to notice very much difference because it hasn't had enough time to really work. But what should happen is after about a month or 6 weeks or so, you should notice that your toes are starting to look a little bit lighter. And after a couple of months or 2.5 months, you should go, oh my God, they really are lighter. And after about 3 or 4 months, you should be calling me back and going, oh my God, your tea does exactly what it says it's supposed to do. And for toenail fungus, it works on everybody. I mean, literally on everybody. The success ratio is like, 99.9%. And the reason is, of course, is that the tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. So it naturally has antifungal properties. So even conventional antifungal, anti-yeast, anti-candida, that sort of thing, which yeast and candida also can take a while to eliminate because candida has usually permeated the whole body. So in order to get rid of it, actually even takes longer than toenail fungus, takes 6 to 9 months because of that. But it's so effective for getting rid of candida that even conventional doctors recommend their patients to call us for candida. And like I said, for toenail fungus, we have a lot of funny stories. People calling us up, not realizing it's going to also clear up their toenail fungus, because oftentimes, they'll buy it for diabetes, or they'll buy it for cancer, or some inflammation, or whatever the case is, and then they'll realize, oh my God, my toenail fungus is gone. So God willing, it'll have the same benefits for you as well.
I appreciate that. I just want to let you know I stocked up on it the last time that I ordered it, because I'm thinking it would be really great in an emergency situation for people who can't get their blood thinners. If there's an emergency and the pharmacy is out of medication, it'd be great for people on blood thinners.
Absolutely the case. Thank you so much. We'll give you a call after the show to send your package of tea to you. Thank you. For more information about the Tahibo Tea Club or to order, visit our website, tahiboteaclub.com. The first word is Tahibo, spelled T-A-H-E-E-B like boy, O. The second word is tea, spelled T-E-A. The third word is club, C-L-U-B, then .com. So the complete website is tahiboteaclub.com, and the only tricky thing is spelling Tahibo, T-A-H-E-E-B-O. And of course, you can call the Los Angeles office at 818-610-8088.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit tahiboteaclub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is tahiboteaclub.com or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, tahiboteaclub.com. Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea helps build red corpuscles in the blood which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit tahiboteaclub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is tahiboteaclub.com or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, tahiboteaclub.com.
Good morning, listener. You're live on the air with Milan Vukovic. How can I help you?
Buddy of mine, he got me a bag of it, and I've been drinking it for about the last week. I was curious, I hadn't read too much into it, but I was curious if there were some stories with people with bad kidneys. I was currently diagnosed with issues with my kidneys, seeing how that was effective, and then also one other question, I guess. When I've been boiling, can you do like a concentrated batch and then just add it to regular water, or do you have to do the 8 or 4 cups at a time?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer both of those questions. First of all, with regards to the kidneys and the other organs actually in the body, since the tea builds the red corpuscles in the blood, what it does is it helps regenerate new cells. Everything from the cells in our skin so we look better to the cells in our organs so they function properly. And that includes all the organs, from the kidney to the liver to the sexual organs, etc. Now, with regards to the kidneys specifically, conventional medicine says that you cannot regenerate the kidney function. But in fact, they find a lot of cases where that's exactly what's happened, and they have no idea why. In our case, we get a successful kidney regeneration case at least once every 2 months or so, and they're really, truly amazing. This one lady, her kidney function went down to 20% because she had the HIV virus, and she started drinking the tea, and in 4 months, not only did she beat the HIV virus, but her kidney function regenerated back up to 100%. And I know nobody's going to call us in to lie about something like that because they've got no motivation to. If anything, in this country, people are going to call up and say, hey, I've been drinking your tea for 3 months and I don't look 5 years younger yet. What gives? And so we get like one of those cases every couple of months. Right now, we've got a early case going on where ladies' function is down to 15%. And in 1 month of drinking the tea, it's up to 25%. So we'll see when she calls in the next time to give us an update what's happened. But God willing, it'll regenerate her kidney function just as it has for some of our other customers. So from that standpoint, hopefully it'll do the same for you as well. Now, with regards to your question of drinking a stronger concentrate of the tea, the answer is it doesn't help to concentrate the tea any. And the reason that it doesn't is because our body only assimilates so much of the active ingredients, because there are 20 active elements in the tea that work synergistically. And our body only assimilates so many of them at one time. So it's kind of like some vitamins, or calcium might be a better example. Our body can use 1,000 units a day of calcium, but calcium pills come in 500 units apiece, because our body can only absorb 500 units at a time. So they tell us to take one calcium pill in the morning and take one in the afternoon. If you take both at once, nothing happens. You're just going to pee out the one of them. So you're not going to get the benefit of 1,000 units of calcium if you've done that. Same thing with our tea. I oftentimes get the question, I'm fighting terminal cancer. I'm going to make the tea 10 times as strong because I have to beat the cancer. And the answer to that question is the same, is that all you're doing when you make it 10 times as strong is changing the flavor. You're just going to make it bitter at that point. In the meantime, if you want to have 10 times the amount of benefits, drink 10 times as much tea. So in other words, if you drink 10 glasses a day, you're going to get 10 times the benefits of drinking 1 glass a day. So it's kind of like, working out. If you work out for 30 minutes a day, that's fantastic. You're going to get a lot of benefit. You're trying to go to the Olympics, you better be working out, 8 hours a day instead of 30 minutes a day. So same thing with the tea. And so what I do in my family, nobody's sick. And as you heard, it saved my dad's life 23 years ago. But in my family, we all drink it all day long, basically instead of water. It has no caffeine, so you can do that. It has no contraindications. You can take it on an empty stomach, on a full stomach, with medicine, without medicine. And so what I do is I drink a cup in the morning when I get up at room temperature. Then I fill a Yeti container that holds 4 cups and take that to work with me. We're in Los Angeles in the summer. I actually finish that by 1 o'clock. I'm thinking of buying myself another one of those Yeti containers. And in the winter, it's a little bit cooler, so that tends to last me till the end of our business day at 5 o'clock. And then I drink some more with dinner at night. So I'm drinking 6-7 glasses a day. So I only drink water 3-4 times a week when I get tired of drinking a tea. Is there any other issue or concern that you might have?
No, sir. I mean, I drink quite a bit of water already, but once I've been starting to drink this tea and stuff too, I'm trying to just find the right mixture of that. So,
replace the bulk of the water that you're drinking with our tea, and you'll get the maximum benefit that way. Thank you for calling in.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I had a question. I have a family member that has celiac disease. Does the tea have any helpful benefits for that?
Oh, very, very much so, because what the tea does is it builds the red corpuscles in the blood, which carry oxygen to the organs and cells, and it helps promote building the immune system so that the immune system doesn't have a reaction to, in celiac disease, eating gluten, which creates inflammation. And so from both of those standpoints, the tea is a phenomenal anti-inflammatory. The tea is a phenomenal immune builder. And also in celiac disease, it'll help heal the intestines lining, which is what the celiac disease typically typically attacks. So from that standpoint, it's very, very, very effective for that.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate the information. Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea helps build red corpuscles in the blood which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com.
The first word is Tahibo, spelled T-A-H-E-E-B like boy, O. The second word is tea, spelled T-E-A. The third word is club, C-L-U-B, then .com. So the complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com, and the only tricky thing is spelling Tahibo, T-A-H-E-E-B-O. And of course, you can call the Los Angeles office at 818-610-8088.
You're listening to the Tahibo Tea Club radio show, hosted by Milan Vukovic, founder of the Tahibo Tea Club.
Welcome to the Tahibo Tea Club Radio Hour. My name is Milan Vukovic. I'm the founder of the Tahibo Tea Club. I'd like to talk a little bit about my least favorite cases that I hear about, and also my favorite cases. My least favorite cases are people that previously had cancer of some type 3, 4, 5 years ago, and they're told that they're all clear. Then 4 or 5 years later, the cancer has returned. And I'm thinking, oh my God, if they just knew about the tea and had drank the tea, the cancer might not have come back. When a person has gone through all the treatments, they're all really harsh. Surgery's not easy, radiation's not easy, chemotherapy's not easy. And when they've exhausted all those treatments and gotten a clean bill of health, what it really means is that the doctors just can't find any cancer cells. All of us have cancer cells in us, but our bodies and immune system keep the cells in check. So obviously someone that has had cancer before has much more likelihood that this cancer will come back than somebody who's never had cancer before. I emphasize to everyone that drinks our tea that once you do get a clean bill of health, whether with our tea or without, please drink our tea after that, because you don't want to have to go through radiation, chemotherapy, or surgery again. My favorite cases, on the other hand, are cases where I get calls from customers who've been diagnosed with cancer, and they start drinking the tea right away as soon as they're diagnosed. Oftentimes, it takes conventional medicine 2 to 3 months to get around to starting treatment, either because they need to get insurance approval, because everything they're going to do is expensive, or they need to decide which form of treatment they're going to take. In the meantime, the customer has ordered the tea, has started drinking it, and 2.5 months later, when they get around to doing something, there's no cancer anymore.
I just got a phone call the other day from a lady in North Carolina, and she says, my husband got diagnosed with lung cancer 2.5 months ago. We heard about your tea and ordered it right away, and he started drinking it immediately. And 2 days ago, he was scheduled for a biopsy. So I asked my sister to go with me to the hospital because the biopsy is a day procedure, and that way she could keep me company while I was waiting there at the hospital. So we checked my husband in, and found our way to the cafeteria, and got back to the waiting room and got comfortable. And no sooner had we got comfortable, the nurse comes and runs out and says, "There's nothing to biopsy." So those are my favorite cases, and we get a lot of cases like that as well. So it doesn't matter whether you drink the tea before you start therapy, or during therapy, or after therapy, or the reason we have a lot of miraculous cases is that people actually go through all the therapies, and at some points the doctors will say that they've tried their best, but unfortunately, if they give them any more chemo, they're going to hasten their demise rather than help them, and they have 6 weeks to live. At that point, if a person starts drinking tea and they're not doing anything different and they completely recover, obviously the tea might be helping them, and we're truly gratified when that happens. Another great case from a customer who's been a customer for 5 years calls us to reorder, and she says that she's been a customer for 5 years. And I asked if she could tell me the primary reason that she was drinking the tea. She says yes. In the informational booklets that you always include, right in the middle, when you open it up, you have about 30 things listed that the tea is good against. I don't want to get any of those. I'm 79 years old, I don't take any pills, and all I do is drink the tea, and I look like I'm 60. That's the way I want to keep it. I said, that's fantastic. A lot of people need to know that as well. It's great for health maintenance. She says, of course, it's too late to plant the garden once you're hungry. So with that being said, please go ahead and enjoy the tea. It tastes great, and God willing, our tea will have the same benefits for you that it's had for my family and so many others. The Tehibo Tea Club is a labor of love, life, and health. We only sell pure Pau d'Arco Tehibo bark to make Tehibo tea. After my father's miraculous recovery from colon pancreatic cancer, I was buying the tea where I could find it and when I could find it. And the problem was that even here in the United States, the tea wasn't easy to find. And when I did find it, oftentimes the quality was poor. And invariably, the directions to prepare are wrong. They tell you to steep it like you would a bag of Lipton tea. Well, you're not going to get very much out of it if you soak it, because it's whether you start out with good quality or bad quality, it's made from wood. So you have to cook it, which is really easy, but you do have to cook it. So my friends and I decided to start the Tehibo Tea Club as a source of only one product, pure Pau d'Arco Tehibo tea. Our club is the best club in the world. We have no application, no membership dues, and no meetings, and you only receive a news mail or a letter from us when we have something to report. So the complete website is TehiboTeaClub.com, and the only tricky thing is spelling Tehibo, T-A-H-E-E-B-O. And of course, you can call the Los Angeles office at 818-610-8088.
Tehibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea helps build red corpuscles in the blood which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TehiboTeaClub.com. Tehibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TehiboTeaClub.com, or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TehiboTeaClub.com. Tehibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TaheeboTeaClub.com. Taheebo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TaheeboTeaClub.com or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TaheeboTeaClub.com.
My granny had a saying, without humps there would be no getting over. You pay for what you get, and hardly ever.
You've been listening to One-on-One from all my funky friends from the incomparable Queen of Soul, Dawn Silva, on the Taheebo Tea Club radio show. This is your host, Milan Vukovic. As you may know, I founded the Taheebo Tea Club because I got fed up with the poor quality of Pau d'Arco Taheebo tea available at the Whole Foods, the health foods, the supermarkets, and the resellers on Amazon.com. I mean, 75% of the olive oil in the stores is not pure olive oil, and everyone knows what olive oil is since we've been making it for about 5,000 years. Now, we've got a special treat for you today. Visiting with us in person is the amazing, the beautiful, with the voice and rhythm of an angel, Dawn Silva. Her music credits, starting with Sly and the Family Stone to Parliament Funkadelic to the Brides of Funkenstein, are too numerous to mention. Her Never Buy Texas from a Cowboy was voted by Rolling Stone magazine as one of the top 50 coolest albums ever released. Here to tell us her story, to what lengths she went to get pure Pau d'Arco Taheebo tea before she found the Taheebo Tea Club, is Dawn Silva. Dawn, it's such an honor. Welcome to our show.
Oh, thank you so much. The honor is mine. Milan, thank you so much for inviting me to the Taheebo Bark Tea Club. And Joseph, thank you for inviting me to your wonderful studio at KCAA. I have so many wonderful things I'd like to say about the Taheebo Bark. I'm here not because I'm lucky, but because I'm blessed. Taheebo Bark is a healer, and I can't speak for everyone else, but I can speak for myself that it changed my life significantly. Back in 1994, I went to Brazil. I used to work over there with a group called the Platters, and I was always feeling sluggish and tired and not feeling good, and I was diagnosed with having these horrible fibroids. They were huge. They're about the size of grapefruits. And I knew when I got home from the road that I was going to have a complete hysterectomy. I went and talked to 3 different surgeons, and they all suggested that I get a hysterectomy. So it was on the list for me to have that surgery. And then I ran into a Brazilian promoter over in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and she says, "Oh, you Americans are always cutting. Mm-hmm. She says, "There's a tea here that shrinks tumors." And I'm like, of course, we're Americans, we're non-believers. We don't believe in holistic that much. We always try to deal with the Western medicine first, and that usually always pretty much lets us down. But so she took me to a grocery store. I bought a big giant garbage bag full of Taheebo Bark tea. Pau d'Arco is what they call it in Brazil. It cost me just a few Brazilian dollars, which was reais, maybe $4 or $5. And I brought it home. And I started drinking it. Within about, started drinking it before I left Brazil. In about 3 months, that grapefruit shrunk down to the size of an egg.
Wow.
And then I got home and I drank it another 3 months. So in 6 months, it broke down to little small clusters. It broke into pieces and then little small clusters of grapes, and then they disappeared. And it never came back, and that was 1994. So I had some family members who have been getting sick, and I know the environment, the air, the food, the water, everything, everybody's, if it's like 1 in maybe 5 people are getting some different types of cancers. And then I had a family member who was diagnosed with calcification clusters, which is a pre-warning of cancers. Of course, the doctor wanted to do a complete double mastectomy for 0-stage cancer. Are you kidding me? 0-stage cancer, they want to do a complete mastectomy. So I said, you know what? Let me see if I can find you some Taheebo Bark tea, and you can try that route first before they start cutting. And I'm going to health food stores, and they had Taheebo Bark. And when I first started drinking it, just before I gave it to her, I realized that it had an odd taste. It wasn't the same that came from the type of Taheebo Bark that was coming from Brazil. So I did try it, and then I went to another health food store and I realized that it was knockoff brands. It kind of had a similar taste to it, but it wasn't the real deal. And then a friend in Los Angeles said, you need to go over to the Tejibo Bark House. They have one over out there in, what area? Out there in Woodland Hills. He said, you should go out to Woodland Hills. I said, Woodland Hills? I've been flying to Brazil and sneaking Tejibo Bark back in my suitcase. And I said, I don't have to go to Brazil. And of course, no, go see Milan over there in Woodland Hills. And so I said, yeah, I would. And so what it's not lucky to me. It's a blessing that I found him. And I know for a fact that it will heal people. At least I can say for a fact that it healed me. And I'm just wonderful, and it's an honor to be here with you today.
Well, God bless you, and thank you so much for sharing with our listeners your personal experiences. We tell them all the time on our show, you know, I mean, not a week goes by that somebody doesn't call in with a truly miraculous recovery. Bone cancer, brain cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, mesothelioma. And not a day goes by that somebody doesn't call in with some type of a success, whether it's just beating toenail fungus. Well, toenail fungus may not be imminently life-threatening, but if you have it, you don't like it.
Well, I know that Tejibo Bark actually kills inflammation, and inflammation is what cancer feeds on, inflammation and sugar. And also, if you have arthritis and lupus and leukemia, I would suggest taking it. It would change your life. And another story that I had a neighbor who lived down the street from me who had stage 4 prostate cancer. Mm-hmm. And I used to see him struggling up and down the street, trying to walk. And, of course, he was going through the whole chemo and the radiation. And they gave him like 6 months to live. And so one day I saw him sitting out on my bricks in front of my house. And I was like, he said he couldn't make it home. And I says, what's going on with you? And he told me. And I says, you ought to drink some Tejibo Bark. And I had just a little bit left that I had gotten from Brazil. Mm-hmm. And, of course, it lasts for many, many years. I had picked that up I've had it about 7 or 8 years. And it was just as strong as the day that I brought it home from Brazil. So, but I was hoarding it because I knew I couldn't find it in the States. But I'm a Christian, and I knew he was in trouble. Mm-hmm. So I gave him the last, maybe I had about a half an ounce left. And I gave it to him, and I told him how to drink it. And, of course, what did he have to lose? He started drinking it. And in 5 months, he could walk all the way down the street and back. And then in a year, he was walking for miles. And he right now is in remission. And when they told him he had 6 months to live, he's still living to this day. Well, and that was 4 years ago.
That's absolutely fantastic. You know, we've had a lot of amazing prostate cancer cases, of course, because they're so prevalent. More than 80% of men are going to have prostate cancer by the time they reach 80. And as you mentioned, with our tea, there's no problem with it storing it because it comes from the only tree in the world the fungus doesn't grow on.
Tejibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TejiboTeaClub.com. Tejibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TejiboTeaClub.com or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TejiboTeaClub.com. Tejibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea helps build red corpuscles in the blood which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TejiboTeaClub.com. Tejibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TaheeboTeaClub.com or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TaheeboTeaClub.com.
We've had a lot of amazing prostate cancer cases, of course, because they're so prevalent. More than 80% of men are going to have prostate cancer by the time they reach 80. And as you mentioned with our tea, there's no problem with it storing it because it comes from the only tree in the world the fungus doesn't grow on. So just recently we started to put an expiration label on our packaging of 10 years. So the other day a lady called me up and she says, "Hey, what happens to the tea after 10 years?" I says, "I don't know. For all we know, it may be good for 10, 20 or 30 years. We've just been testing it for 10 years.
I think that, maybe after, because I had some that I got in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
What is this, 2019?
Right.
What are you talking about, 30-something years ago? And it's just now starting to turn to a little light dust.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you take the dust of that 30-year-old Tahibo bark and you boil it, you get the same benefits.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. So I don't know. It's miraculous. And it's that a tree bark could actually save your life.
Now, let me ask you to get to another important topic. Are you going to be going back into the studio soon? And what's the status on that?
I'm going in the studio. Actually, like I said, God, sometimes we want to plan our lives, but sometimes our lives plans us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We plan our life. I'm in the studio actually tomorrow, recording a brand new single, which calls "I'm Still Standing for the Funky Folks." Is the name of the new single. So I have a bunch of singers coming in. Milan's coming. Joseph, he could come if he wants to. My guitar player who's in town, and she plays with, or used to play with Prince, and she from the Larry Graham and the Graham Central Station family. Her name is Gail Modro, so she'll be there doing guitars and So yeah, I'm starting on a new project, and I'm starting tomorrow right over there in Van Nuys at a studio. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Brand new project coming out. I just finished a book, and the book's called Shadows on the Wall, an autobiography of memoirs of a funk queen. So I talk about my time with Sly Stone. I talk about with all the groups that I worked with while I was with Sly and on with Parliament Funkadelic, and I did a 10-year spin with the Gap Band. I worked a little bit with the Eurythmics, Snoop and Dr. Dre, and not Dr. Dre, Ice Cube. Sorry, Dr. Dre, but I did do one single with him years ago. But so yeah, it's just been a journey. It's been a successful musical ride for me, and that's why I called my album "All My Funky Friends," because I gathered all the people together that I love and work with over the years, and we came up with a really great album. Because I did drop an album. 2001, and I dropped it independently, and I sold about 200,000 copies out of my kitchen.
Wow!
So I have an underground following of some really strong, I call them funk soldiers. So I just want to let them know, if they're listening, that I'm going to be dropping some new stuff really soon. And back to the Tahibo bark tea from all of the musicians, because the music industry is extremely stressful. Cancer thrives on sugar, thrives on inflammation, stress, and the stress will break your immune system down. Sleeping disorders, arthritis or rheumatoid, the bigger the headache, the bigger the pill is the Western world.
Right.
But the Tahibo bark, there's nothing on the face of this earth that is as amazing, a miracle, healer foremost.
God bless you, and thank you so much for blessing us with your presence. And I hope you'll stop in some other time when you're down here in the Los Angeles area, and we look forward to some more beautiful music from you.
You can't keep me away. Thank you, Milan.
All right, take care.
Take care, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, this next segment is a segment with live listener call-ins from previous shows, and you'll be hearing their questions, their successes, and their experiences with Tahibo tea. So please do give us a call and let us know how the tea works for you. Thank you. Go ahead, listener. You're live on the air with Milan Vukovic. How can I help you?
Hey, I was just calling to give a testimonial for your product. Great. Tell us about your experience.
Yeah, so I was dealing with like some scalp psoriasis. I think that's how you pronounce it. And looking into that, causes can be underlying viruses or diseases, all these things. So I ordered some of your tea, and then I had just come back from some overseas travel, and this was right when COVID hit, and I got a really bad flu or something might have been COVID. But I started drinking your tea, and within a week, my scalp cleared up, and all of my cold and flu symptoms disappeared within 48 hours. And so ever since then, I've recommended your tea to my friends, my family, everybody I can think of.
Oh, God bless you. Well, we've got a lot of incredible results, both with psoriasis and skin conditions, and now, of course, with everybody, catching COVID or whatever it is that's floating around. It's very typical. If somebody basically drinks a glass an hour, meaning 8 glasses or more a day, but the easy way to do that is just try to drink a glass an hour. That way you're going to get in at least 8 glasses. Drink 8 glasses of tea a day, and the fever, the aches, the pains, the nausea, all of that tends to go away in 24 to 48 hours. And it's it's really a godsend from that standpoint, because I mean, regardless if it's the cold, the flu, or COVID, I mean, who likes being sick? Nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with regards to psoriasis, that's fantastic as well, because I mean, psoriasis can manifest itself all over the body. So we had this one lady up in Canada who had these splotches on her face covering 95% of her face. And in 2 months of drinking the tea, her face was completely cleared up, and she called up and she says, I just want to call and thank you for giving me my life back. Because she says, can you imagine how difficult it is when you've got that covering your whole face? She says it's just absolutely horrific. So I'm glad that the tea worked for you the way it's supposed to work. Do you have any other questions for me?
No, I just wanted to let listeners know that there's people out there that definitely love your product and believe in it.
Great. Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking with you next time.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com, or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea helps build red corpuscles in the blood, which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com, or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com.
For more information about the Tahibo Tea Club or to order, visit